Morphology teaching demonstration. Morphology. Morphology is the study of words, how they are formed, and their relationships to other words. Morphology is specifically focused on the internal structure and parts of words. Parts of a word include root words, prefixes, and suffixes. Parts of a word. A root is a word's most basic part and carries its meaning. A prefix is an element added to the beginning of a word to modify its meaning. A suffix is an element added to the end of the word to modify its meaning. Morphemes. Words have internal structures that are made up of smaller pieces called morphemes. Morphemes are the smallest meaningful units of a word. Morphemes can be broken down into two main groups: free morphemes and bound morphemes. Free morphemes are units of a word that can stand alone. These are known as the root words. Examples of this are house, tree, and run. Bound morphemes are units of a word that must be attached to a free morpheme to have meaning. These are known as the affixes in words, prefixes, and suffixes. Examples of these are in unhappy and ing in singing.
Affixes can be broken down into two groups: inflectional morphemes and derivational morphemes. Inflectional morphemes add different meanings to a word without changing the part of speech. It adds a functional or grammatical change to a word. Inflectional morphemes will always be suffixes, which is added to the end of a word. For example, taking the word dog and changing it to the word dogs. The suffix s is added and adds a different meaning to the word without changing the noun to another part of speech. Derivational morphemes changes meaning of the whole word and or part of speech. Derivational morphemes can be either suffixes or prefixes. For example, taking the word compete and changing it to competition. The suffix tion is added and changes the word from a verb to a noun, also changing the word's meaning. For another example, with a prefix, we have the word happy, which is changed to unhappy. The prefix un is added and changes the meaning of the word. Linguists categorize words by their combination of different types of morphemes. Main categories are simple words, complex words, and compound words. Simple words are words that only consist of one free morpheme. Free morphemes are units of a word that can stand alone. These are also known as the root words. Examples are build, dog, tree, and smell. These words cannot be broken down smaller. Complex words are words that consist of one free morpheme and one or more bound morphemes. For example, the word build, added with the suffix becomes builder, having one free morpheme and one bound morpheme. In the word dogs, the suffix s is added, making it dogs. In the word preheat, the prefix is added to the word heat, making the word preheat. Compound words are words that consist of two free morphemes. For example, the word afternoon has the root word after and the root word noon, making it a compound word consisting of two free morphemes. Another example is air and plane coming together to make the word airplane. Morphology is an important topic for English language learners to understand. Having knowledge on a wide range of prefixes, roots, and suffixes to use in their academic vocabulary across subject areas is key to learning the meanings of new, more challenging words. Learning the meanings of different parts of words can help students to determine the meaning of more challenging words as well as learn the language. The activity on morphology that we have created is tailored to this third grade classroom, which consists of one teacher, one paraprofessional, and a total of 25 students altogether. The students within the classroom range with different academic skills and ethnicities. It is a general ed mainstream classroom, but there are 5 out of the 25 who are varying English language learners. The ages range from 7 to 8, and they speak different languages such as Spanish, Mandarin, Arabic, and Haitian. We have 1 entering, 2 emerging, 1 expanding, and 1 transitioning Ls in the class.
Students will focus on morphemes in this lesson, specifically bound morphemes. Bound morphemes are units of a word, also known as affixes, that must be attached to a free morpheme to have meaning. In this lesson, students will practice adding the prefixes re and un to common root words. The content objective for this lesson is, students will be able to construct words with the prefixes re and un by adding them to common roots and suffixes. The Common Core state standard for this lesson is, determine the meaning of the new word formed when a known affix is added to a known word. Examples are agreeable and disagreeable, comfortable and uncomfortable, care and careless, and heat and preheat. The first language objective for this lesson is, students will be able to write new words with the prefixes re and un by adding them to common root words. The second language objective is, students will be able to orally recite the new words they constructed.
Description of teaching activities. Students will have had exposure to the meanings of the prefixes re and un prior to this lesson. Therefore, they will be focusing on building their own words with these prefixes and the root words and suffixes that they know. The purpose is to construct words with these new prefixes and provide the meanings to the words they build. For example, pre plus heat equals preheat, to heat before. A prefix is a word that goes at the beginning of a word. It changes the meaning of a word. Re, it means to do again. Example, re plus write equals rewrite. Rewrite is to write again. Un, it means not against or opposite. Example, un plus fair equals unfair. Unfair equals not fair. Against or opposite. Example, un plus fair equals unfair. Unfair equals not fair. Description of teaching activity 1. Students will read the base words at the bottom of the page, cut out each word, and glue them under the appropriate prefix. Using word sorts are a great way for students to create new words. This activity allows students to attach the prefixes re and un to different base words. For example, reteach or unkind. The key component to the activity of this word sort is giving students the opportunity to determine word meanings. Also, not all prefixes can be attached to each base word. Therefore, we wouldn't attach re plus clear to equal re-clear. The better sounding prefix with clear is unclear. Differentiation for teaching activity 1. Entering students will have picture support and a more guided activity where the words are built for them and they need to match the picture to that word. Students will also have translations in their L1 to match these new words. Emerging. This sort will consist of base words that match with the prefix re and un. Students will also have picture support here. For example, re plus heat equals reheat and un plus clear equals unclear. Expanding and transitioning students will have the attached activity where they need to decide which prefix matches with the base word. It is important for these students to understand that not all base words can be attached to every prefix. This group can also start putting these words into sentences. Description of teaching activity 2. After the word sort, using those words in sentences is a great way to assess student understanding of the meanings of these words. For L's, providing a word bank with the sentences attached is a useful scaffolding strategy before you ask them to write sentences independently. For some sentences, as you see attached, we included the meaning of the word in parentheses, as well as 2 options that they could choose from. For example, sentence 1, the boy was blank to his birthday gifts. The choices we gave were unwrap or unlock. Another sentence example is, her handwriting was so sloppy, the teacher was blank to read it. In parentheses, the definition of the word not able was listed. Students would have to choose from the word bank above for their answers.
This is the extension activity. The prefixes will include re and un. Students will read the clues to determine which prefix should be added to the base word and write the word in the correct boxes on the puzzle. For example, number 2, across, should be unclear. Differentiation for teaching activity 2. Entering students will have these newly constructed words translated in their L1 along with each sentence in their L1 and L2. For example, we reheat our dinner in the oven. Expanding students will be provided with sentences and a word bank where they need to place the correct words to match. Emerging and transitioning students will use their newly constructed words and build sentences on their own. For an extra challenge, students can create a mini story using these words with a partner. These newly constructed words can be added to the classroom word wall. It is important that students have access to them so that they can continuously use them in their daily reading, writing, and oral language. As the class learns more prefixes, suffixes, and roots, incorporating these words and their meanings into a card deck is another way for students to review the meanings on a daily basis in a drill-like structure. Categorize the following words into the correct category, whether it's simple word, complex word, or compound word, and explain your answer. Number 2, are the affixes in the following words an afflictional morpheme or derivational morpheme? Explain why. And number 3, what can you do in your classroom to help your students develop morphology skills?